X Marks the Truth. If you guys don't follow him, we'll go ahead and put all of his socials after the podcast is over. You can check him out. If you want a California conservatives' point of view on what's going on in the country, he is the man for that because he's basically spot on. We couldn't be any further away. We're in Florida, and politically, um, we're basically identical when we think about a bunch of things. So, pretty cool guy. I'm really excited to have him on the podcast, and I'll let him say a couple words here.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. This will be my first ever podcast. And so I'm relatively new to this space. I just got on TikTok probably maybe 6 months. So this is all something that's new to me. I was like, well, I got to kind of got to get with the times because the news I was getting, I was getting bullshit
Oh yeah,
to be honest with you. So I said, well, let me check out this app. So I put that app on my phone, and next thing I know, I'm starting to see like a whole different world,
yeah,
and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. So I stopped watching like mainstream news, mainstream
sure,
media, and kind of focused on kind of that and like some underground stuff. Um, but yeah, it kind of opened my eyes up. And then when the whole thing happened, when the TikTok went the ban, and
yeah,
then everybody went to that little red book,
yeah.
and then I jumped on that for a hot little minute, not too long, not too much time, but for a hot little minute. And when you look outside of your bubble, and you get your eyes open, it kind of changes your perspective on life. So,
And dude, it's so funny that you mentioned that because we talk a lot about staying. People like tend to stay inside their bubble, right? Where they're comfortable,
yeah,
with they're ready. It's their. I don't want to say ho hum because people live in their bubble. They have awesome lives, but so many people just stay in that little zone. And once you get outside of that bubble, where the uncomfortable shit happens, is where growth happens, in my opinion, right?
oh yeah,
And that's
definitely.
kind of your story is very similar to mine. I used. I mean, TikTok was for fun when we first downloaded it, and then as I would say probably the last 3.5 years, at up until Trump got reelected, um, this the variation of stories you got from mainstream media, legacy media, and everything else was crazy. And while TikTok wasn't necessarily the best source for that, it was still kind of like the Wild Wild West. And then once Elon bought X, dude,
Hmm.
that was it because you had two sources you could then compare and contrast from. And part of
Right.
what we're doing now with this podcast is a little bit of that because a lot of podcasts have also been purchased by mainstream medias. So you have legacy media buying up all these independent podcasters that are afraid to say what they want because they're beholden to some company or whatever it might be. We just don't want to do that. So when I decided we were going to start this, I partnered with my buddy Mark, and this is maybe 7 months ago when we really had the idea. And of course, everything takes time. We had to buy equipment, and we found a studio space, which is a story in and of itself. Um, Getting the microphones, getting the equipment, getting the headphones, getting new computers, getting all that stuff. It's a big investment for something that's we're not naive in the slightest. This is for fun right now. We're having a
Yeah.
good ass time. It's a great hobby. It's a couple of 40 plus year old guys to get on here and once a week bullshit with some other dude, or if we have when we start having our women guests on, just to reach our audience and say, listen, our primary message is men and women and people out there in general. There are so many things that happen in your life that are similar to other people's stories, where you grew up, how you grew up, things that happened to you, tragedies, losses, triumphs, failures, all that shit is told through different lenses. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
people overcome those things. And there's tons of tools that could be used to do so. And I'm a person who's been through some stuff. So is my co-host. And we just, if we can help by telling other people's stories and getting there through that, I think, for us, I'd be happy if I could sleep at night. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Because everybody has a story. Everybody has a message.
Yeah.
And for me, it's weird because I'm conservative, and my dad, he's conservative now,
Yeah.
but he used to vote Democrat, and he was left. And that's what I knew growing up. And I wasn't really big on politics when I was younger. That didn't come till later on in life.
Sure.
But my dad's views, now that I look back on my youth and being a kid, my dad's values were always conservative. We're Hispanic,
Yeah.
And so his values is, he
Hard
gets
work,
up, goes to work every day, hard worker, takes care of his family,
discipline,
uh, discipline,
respect.
big on discipline and respect.
Yeah.
And so that's what our foundation was. But
So,
my dad also had another side, and my dad was a gang member.
oof.
So,
Okay.
and so that was kind of that life I had to live. It was
Yeah.
like that duality. And at one point in my life, that was me. Like
Well,
I was pretty much indoctrinated at that point,
well, I was
right?
gonna say you shared with me before we started. You grew up in L.A., L.A. County, yeah.
Correct. I grew up in LA County, and um,
So
so
let me.
for my dad, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is. I would bet that area, and especially after like the Rodney King riots and all that stuff, that was a challenging time, right?
Oh yeah, and
Especially if your father was like gang affiliated and all that shit was going on down there, and you're a
yeah,
couple of years
this
older
was
than I am, so I would definitely remember that.
yeah. I'm 46, and so when the riots happened, I was in I was in seventh grade.
Seventh, eighth
I think it was
grade,
in
yeah, it's
seventh
got to
grade.
be,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so around that time, I was around that lifestyle, but I wasn't in the mix. I wasn't doing that
Okay,
kind of thing. I was still trying to like find myself and be a kid playing sports and things like that, play baseball. And it wasn't until I got a couple years later, a little bit older, where I started to hang around that crowd. Where
got it.
I found myself hanging around those people, and then started doing stupid shit. Uh, but that was all just from indoctrination from a young age.
From
Like
your dad,
that's
yeah,
what I knew. I mean, I had those people in my house like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. People coming to my house partying. So
yeah.
that's what I knew. I didn't know no better. I thought that that's just the way it was. Um, and then lots of things had happened in my teenage years, and then I ended up moving. And actually, my dad kicked me out, and
Well,
then I moved up with my
can,
mom.
well, can we go
So
back? And this is, I mean, forgive me if you don't, if you, I'm going to try to nitpick through some of that a little bit because I think there's some interesting things in there. So, the reason I asked about the riots is because, from my understanding and what we read about it, is it wasn't in certain areas the gangs were keeping the communities together when that was happening, right? They were protecting parts of the city that were being attacked. Or am I incorrect about that?
well, maybe some parts of it, but for the
Okay,
most part,
not
it
where
was,
you
it
were.
was pretty much free for all.
Yeah.
And where I was, it was LA County,
Okay.
and we didn't see much of that action.
Okay.
But we knew it was coming, and I think it got as close to us as maybe Carson,
Okay.
California. Um, but we knew about it. So when all that stuff happened, they sent everybody home. They're like, "Oh, there's riots going on
Yeah.
somewhere in LA, South Central," and they sent everybody home. I remember we got to go home early from school that day. Um,
It was funny
but it's
because
funny.
that you know, I guess the county and California is so damn big. Like
Yeah.
it's just so spaced out. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but
It's weird because it's weird because you get to LA and then LA County. Where I was what would you consider the South Bay, and but there's just you could cross one street and be in a different neighborhood.
gotcha.
Like you can, like it's that's just how it was. You could walk 15 minutes and then you're in another city,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy like that. And so there's just so many little small pockets of different neighborhoods everywhere. Um, but yeah, when that old Rodney King thing happened, that
So
was
how did you find yourself breaking out of that? If you said you got kicked out of the house, right? But was it because you didn't want to be a part of that life anymore, or had to leave?
no, no. I was just acting a fool, and my dad kicked me out, and then I got sent with my mother, and I was probably up with my mom for a couple of years, kind of going back and forth. I
Sure.
kind of played that back and forth game until I was probably about 19,
So
and
typical
then
14, 15-year-old kid shit.
right,
Yeah.
right, and then I didn't get into no serious trouble. That was my brother, my older brother.
Uh oh.
Yeah, I didn't get into the serious trouble. I kind of got out of that stuff early. I kind of got a taste of everything, and then I ended up having a kid at a young age.
Oh, awesome.
So I have my oldest daughter's 25 years old, and it was like when I said, okay, I'm having a kid, and
Saved your
I had
life.
to, yeah, I had to like change. I had to grow up quick,
Yeah.
and then it just became stop being a parent, just taking care of my kid. Like
Yeah.
that was it. That was my only goal. And then the farther I got away from that life and the less I was around it and not having any contact with those people, I didn't have to worry about that stuff no more. It was like I don't have to worry about that. I don't. That's not part of my life of who I am now.
Yeah.
And
And did you still
people like
maintain
even
it?
now.
Go ahead.
Oh, for a little while I did, but then that gradually just dissipated. Right, like
Yeah.
I only have like maybe two friends that I talk to since then, and but they're successful people,
And how about
and
your
they
dad?
don't even live that life anymore. And my dad, he's you could still say that he's involved kind of somewhat, but for the most part, he's kind of taking a step back.
You guys are close though, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay, then
I'm
good.
close to my dad. Yeah,
Good.
no, it's
It's important.
that's another story. But no, me and my dad we're close. Matter of fact, he's coming up here. He'll be up here this weekend. He'll be up
Awesome.
here for about 3 days.
Well, it's funny, and
So
I bet you could ask him this too, or whether or not you guys have talked about it. You talked about him being, you know, you know, discipline, respect. That was then maybe what the Democratic Party was like, and then it changed somewhere along the lines. It was, I don't know,
yeah,
bastardized.
he had and I think it was after Obama
Yeah,
is when he had a change of heart,
yeah,
and then he kind of it opened his eyes,
sure.
and then he just. I remember one day we were talking, and he just started going in because anytime I talk to my dad, you get him on politics, and he just goes crazy.
He's
Like
on it. Yeah.
he's on it, man. He'll talk for hours. But he's his whole the way he came out. I was like, man, I think you're gonna vote Republican. That's a story for another day. But I was surprised when that happened because my uncle, his older brother,
Yeah.
big time
Wow.
Democrat, and they kind of go at it. They'll have arguments and
Yeah.
they'll agree to disagree. So it's
Well, at
interesting.
least they can do that. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah,
saying something, you know.
even a lot of his friends are the same way. They lean left, and I can't believe you voted for that fucking guy.
It's just,
And
I
it's
mean,
like everybody else that we're tired of the same old shit
yeah.
that goes on. Okay,
Well,
so
and I say it like this. It's been, and I think that we said this a couple weeks ago maybe, and it's like when you talk to people, there's such a division amongst just about any subgroup of Americans you can find, and it's
mhm,
been a death of a thousand cuts. You know, people can't even agree on, you know, what color the sky is sometimes, or you know,
right.
pick pick a thing, and there will be somebody who would disagree with you on it. And I just don't think, when I mean, I only we only really started getting out there and doing this thing, God, like 20 some odd days ago. And man, the amount of heat I get just for a couple of things is like, man, it's just, and it's stuff that I say that is not that controversial. It's like, hey, why can't we just all unite and stay together? And people are like, we don't want to unite with people like you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
what kind of people like you? What is
Yeah,
that? What does that mean? Like, what am I?
right.
What do you? How are you referring to me? How do you see me?
I,
Um,
I'm an
it's crazy.
American just like you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
anyway, And even like the couple days ago, I was saying about men and women, you know, not overcomplicating their men, and that drew a little heat too. And it's like what? And I see the stuff you say sometimes, and people are like trying to fact check you on stuff that's completely like you're completely right. You're factually correct. And they're like in
Hmm.
your DMs, like I'm sure in your actual direct messages, but on the
Yeah,
comments, they're like, well, how about this? And how, this person did that. And I'm like, how about you just take the facts at face value sometimes, you know?
yeah. Well, nobody likes to be wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be wrong. I mean, even me, I don't like to be wrong, but when I'm wrong, and I know it, and I'll tell you I'm wrong. And if somebody provides me those facts, if I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm sorry.
Man, and
Right?
I'm
No,
super okay
no,
with it. I don't care
yeah,
if I'm
I'm
wrong.
cool. Yeah,
Like,
because we all are, right? It's not a big deal. Like
yeah.
people make it bigger than it needs to be. And yeah, I get the comments, the hate comments, and it's ridiculous. It's like, come on, man, this is social media. Like I even had a message from somebody. They might have been in Ukraine or something, or Russia. They're somewhere over
Yeah.
there in the Eastern Bloc, but they're like telling me about my video that I made about Zelensky should be tried for war crimes.
He should.
And she was like, "You have no idea what's going on over here." And she's just like going in on me. I said, "Lady, I'm just stating facts. Like, regardless of how you feel about it, I'm just
Yeah.
stating the fact." And again, this is social media, so I can say what I want as long as
Yeah.
I got some stuff that's factual. I
Right.
mean, how can you down me for it? It's
Well, and people,
take it to
the first the first podcast that we recorded and published was during like the week of the Zelensky visiting the White House thing, right? And me and
Mhm.
my buddy Mark, who's my co-host, normally he can't be here tonight, which is fine. Um, he is not. I don't know. He's a very new conservative, right? So he's
Okay.
been liberal for a very long time, and we've been friends 36 years, and we've always been different point of views when it comes to politics and stuff. And he, even during the first Trump administration, was not a fan. And then this last Mr. Potato Head thing really threw him off. And he's like, you know what? This is not good. And it was, he's Jewish, and it was very specifically the lack of support for, you know, the Jewish community. So they,
Mhm.
basically they backed Syria and didn't back Israel, and Biden very clearly wanted to go to war and have a legitimate ground war there, and by some grace of God or something, it didn't actually happen. And they were trying real hard that last 6 weeks, um,
Mhm.
and then to the point where he's when he goes to synagogue, he's like protecting himself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we live in coastal Florida. Like, there's not a whole lot of danger here. I hate to say that nobody's ever safe, but I mean, it's Florida. Everybody's got a gun, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, it's you're pretty safe for most part, but when we talked about the Zelensky thing, and he was kind of mildly abreast of what was going on, and I said, in the long run, and I think you said this either today or yesterday, you're like, if you need an alliance, who if you are you and I'm me, and we're the superpowers when it comes to something, are you going with a country that is run by a makeshift president that was likely put in my opinion, by the CIA to begin with, to come over
Mhm.
there to create this disillusion of war, to fight with a superpower, to just kind of be a pain in his ass long enough to keep him distracted for something else? That's what I think they did. I don't understand why more people don't even think that, or even will acknowledge the fact that Zelensky is propaganda in the flesh.
He is a puppet.
100%.
Yeah, I just made a video before we got on here. I uploaded a video on TikTok, and it's about just the U.S. setting up puppet regimes all over the place and
Yes. So you saw the same
toppling
thing I
people in
did.
the name of
Yeah.
democracy. Right? So, and I made a this like it's like a minute long, but yeah,
It,
and it happens. It keeps evolving.
and they've tried to do, obviously they tried to do it here,
Yes.
which was super unsuccessful. They've been doing it since, as far as I can see, and I think the JFK files, while I haven't done the whole deep dive on them yet, suggest that
Mhm.
the CIA was heavily involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis with what was going on over there, and then Castro being in power to begin with was questionable, and then now, you know, that country is nothing basically,
Right. It's nothing.
unfortunately, you know.
Yeah,
So
and what kind of turned me on to like a lot of the conspiracy stuff was several. I can't remember how many years ago, but it was when I first heard of Operation Northwood, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that one.
I don't think I've heard of that one. I've heard of Paperclip and a bunch of other ones, but what's this one? Tell me.
Okay, so Northwood is well, it kind of already happened to us. So 9/11 happened, right? And this was after 9/11 had happened that I found out about Northwood. And Northwood was a uh, project. It was by the CIA to use airplanes to, you know,
Missile.
cause that kind of damage as a
Yeah.
missile, and then blame it on a rogue regime
So
or communist and stuff like
yes.
that.
So I've heard that. I had no clue it actually had an official
Yeah.
name. But yeah, I saw that whole thing because, who gives a shit? It's the internet. Everybody has crazy opinions about stuff. But since that happened, I watched the thing happen live. I was a senior in high school. We watched the whole thing on TV. The whole planet shut down, let alone just our school. And we're watching
Hmm.
this, and I'm going, even then, I'm looking at that and going, you're watching. I distinctly remember watching the helicopter footage of it happening when the second plane hit, and I went, anybody else think that doesn't look like a regular airplane to you?
Right.
And then very shortly after, when they started showing the footage of the Pentagon getting hit, and you're
Hmm.
like, the first, literally, and I'm 18, and I'm going looking, talking to my friends, and I'm like, where's the where's the airplane at? Where are the
Yeah. Where's
parts?
that?
You
Right.
know, why is the hole only a couple of feet wide?
Yeah.
Where's the burnt
Precision.
grass? Where's the fire? you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't help the fact later on we learned during the 9/11 commission. It might have been before that, but we found out that the Pentagon had misplaced a bunch of very, just days before misplaced a bunch of very important information and money. You know,
Hmm.
so I mean, listen, the conspiracy theory hole runs deep with me, and it started. I don't think I've ever believed anything I've seen on TV.
No, 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 no. I don't believe hardly any of it, and that's kind of why I went to TikTok
Yeah,
initially, right? Like I told you, I went there and I was like, I started hearing stuff. I'm like, man, how come I'm not hearing this on the regular news? Like, where's this shit at?
yeah.
Like, what's going on? And then so like, I even told my dad one day, I was like, I don't even. He's like, yeah, you watch Fox News? I was like, I don't even watch that, man. He was like, wow. I get my news on the phone, on TikTok. Not all of it. I said, but there's a lot of good information out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like going through what was that newspaper with all the bullshit that boy on it that you used to see in
The Sun.
the Sun. So
Yeah.
it's like going through the Sun, right? You got to go through like 90% bullshit until you get to the right
May-
stuff, right?
Maybe you get a little good conspiracy in there, like aliens or
Right.
some
Yeah,
shit.
you'll get a little bit of good
Yeah.
conspiracy stuff, but you're gonna find some good information there,
Yeah.
and then that's what I like about it. And so, but
It's the
yeah, this
wild, wild west, dude. There is. I mean, so is X. It is, dude. It's crazy how, and then you like, and with X specifically because they have the community notes, it checks everything, so you really can't
right. They
put
fact checked a lot
bullshit
of
on
stuff.
there. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're living in this age, in this cusp of real information being available, and they've done such a good job to convince you that it's not real that nobody believes it.
Yes.
I,
Yeah. They'll hide it in plain sight too. You
yes,
know,
yeah.
and you can see it with your fucking with your eyes, and most people will just like
They
oblivious
got
and
blinders on because
believe
they're
it.
so concerned
Yeah.
about everything else. They've got them fighting over what gender really means and can you kill babies when you shouldn't be doing it, and traditional conservative views that have been unquestioned for decades. They have because they have liberal Republicans questioning the Common Core of the Republican Party, and then Trump brings in Doge, which is only trying to help, and you've got I don't know, probably 40% of the Republicans are pissed off about it. It's stupid.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Trump and Elon could cure cancer, and these fucking
Maybe
people would have something to cry about and complain about, and want him gone. And I don't understand. Well, I know why. It's just their liberal logic.
yeah,
But for them to like see, oh, all this shit that's being done to you, and here it is.
yeah.
I'm showing you everything that's been done to you, but you'll still believe the hype. And like, oh no, that's what do you even do there? See, my wife, she votes Republican too, but I know she leans left. She probably does it because of me, but she cannot stand Elon Musk, and she just despises him. And I'm like, you can hate him all you want. I
Yeah.
said, but when you got a guy who's doing what he's doing and he's not getting paid for it, and he's saying, I want to come help everybody else, and I'm going to show
Yeah.
you where all this corruption is at.
I'm losing billions, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's losing billions,
Yeah.
but I'm going to show you. You may not like him, but he's going to show you, like, hey, look, this is where all this fraud is going.
Yeah.
Like that should be enough for you to open your eyes. Like, hey,
And
well, maybe he may not be he may not be your cup of tea, but he's trying to help you.
well, and it's funny because
So
they always say, the kids now are saying they bring the receipts, and he literally brings the receipts. When there's
right,
a payment made to an unnamed person for an unnamed item, like you go to if you went to Walmart, they wouldn't let that shit happen, and Walmart will let you walk out with stuff sometimes. You know,
right.
if you look a little homeless, toothless, sometimes Walmart lets you slide with a soap bar or something. You know what I mean?
It might, and then wash rag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see when he found like all those subscriptions?
Yeah.
So he found like some subscriptions. I don't know if it was like a
Yes.
magazine, but they were like premium subscriptions, and
Yeah.
like nobody was using them.
Yeah.
Like, come on, we're spending hundreds. Who knows how much money was spent on that? But it's just the small things like that. But a vast amount of this type of spending happening, that's it's a landslide, man. They say, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. So
Well,
yeah, I mean, I want to know where it's all being spent. So
he's been saying, he had been saying, obviously before he even aligned with Trump, that the spending cannot continue because the greatest country in the world can't withstand it. You can't. That's a fact. Um,
right,
and he was asked to help do something about it, not necessarily because he's the. I don't want to say he's the greatest businessman because, like all good businesses, he always lose money. It happens.
hmm
He blows up a $500 million rocket, doesn't give two shits. He's got what I call fuck you money, basically. But
right,
uh,
it does.
he wants to make sure America succeeds, and part of that plan too is making sure that the that what we expect for future generations exists because you can't get $300 trillion in debt and just expect to pop out of it one day. It wouldn't work for you
Yeah,
if you did that. If you went and racked up
nope.
$1 million in debt, I don't know that you could go. I mean, I thought I couldn't. I couldn't go. Oh, I'm $1 million this year, but you know what? I'll make it up next year.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, and if the government's allowed to keep going unchecked and doing what they've been doing
Yeah,
for all these years, what's going to happen when my kids get older, your kids get older?
yeah.
I mean, they're clearly paying this debt down. Um,
Well, my
this little
oldest son,
$5,000 they want to send us, like, cool, that's great. I don't give a shit about it. You should be using that to pay everything down.
it,
So,
it's and California is very similar to Florida in this way. Everything is expensive here.
oh
It's
yeah,
except for fuel. We have great our fuel. I'm gonna tell you something. I want to know your reaction. I think I paid like 3.10 a gallon today for gas. So,
oh man, yeah, I think I filled up Saturday because I had to go visit my brother, and I got a Ram 1500,
uh-huh.
and so I think it was like 110 bucks. I think I pumped in, so it was like over almost $5 a gallon.
Oof.
So yeah,
Yeah. Well, they
and I
want
was
you to
just
all
like,
have electric cars, but guess what? They're gonna burn down the Tesla buildings. What the fuck?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't understand that. I'm like, man, you guys were so pro electric cars and Teslas and
Yeah.
shit, and then all of a sudden now you're
And,
burning things down. Like, what the hell's going on out here?
and it's not even for a good reason. Like, I don't know, let's say California's infrastructure and the grid cannot handle it. They're just
Right,
like mad at Orange Man, so let's be mad at best friend.
right, yeah, yeah.
You know?
He's associated with him, so to hell with him. Now we'll burn his stuff down too.
But I think
Like,
it's fascinating, like you said before we got on, is that everything, east of the valley basically is red, right?
yes,
And then the coastal communities where what 90% of your population
that's
is
right.
blue. So from being a lifelong Californian, do you have anything that attributes to that you could think of?
Uh, I would probably just say that it's um,
Hard one.
probably it's hardwired, yeah, but all these actors and the musicians and all that crazy shit,
The
right?
propaganda, you mean?
And the propaganda, and
Yeah.
it's so crazy. Like, I hardly ever go down to that area. Like, I stay up here, and I'm pretty content up here.
Yeah.
It's still expensive up here, but I'm pretty content being in the valley, being around vineyards and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be over there. And because when I get down there, it irritates the shit out of me because I'm just around a bunch of hippies. I'm just around a bunch of just people who are assholes. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
a
Well,
lot
it's
of assholes.
kind of dirty in some areas too, right?
Some of it is freaking disgusting. It's just you go down there. And I remember when I had one down there one time, and it was just homeless everywhere, like under the underpasses, and I mean, like RVs, and people had their RVs out there because they had nowhere to go. I mean, this is
Yeah.
well during I think like COVID, around COVID time, and it was just it was ridiculous. But then it started happening here. It started happening here in where homeless just became like out of control. Like they would have homeless encampments everywhere, and we'd drive down the freeway, and you would see them at a little encampment right off the freeway, just had their fire going, and
Oh my God.
yeah, it was pretty bad. And I moved my family out more towards the countryside, out in a new development, but not too far from my house, there was like a big plot of land. And on that big plot of land, there was a lot of junk cars and all kinds of stuff back there. Well, they were going there. Like the homeless people were going there, and these people were allowing them to come on the land and like camp there, live there on. Yeah, it was like crazy. Like up the street from a school, and like I'd go down the back roads, and you'd see these homeless people on their bikes or their little trikes,
Yeah.
and then going down this dirt road just to be in this homeless encampment. And I'm like, man, this is bad.
Well, and you don't know. I mean, you can assume what the background of those people are, but why, have them around schools or even anywhere remotely close to children is crazy.
Right? Yeah, it was bad, and it was kind of and I don't let my kids just kind of go anywhere. They can go outside. My youngest is 9. She can go outside and play. She stays close to home. I don't let my kids go anywhere. I don't really let them go hang out and spend the night at their friend's house.
Same.
And
Yeah, we don't.
um,
I don't
I,
trust people.
yeah, I don't trust nobody. Like,
Yeah.
as my kids got older, I was like, do you see why? Like, because it's so bad out there.
Yeah.
You can't trust nobody. And sometimes it's even your own family. I said, so you gotta, as a parent, you gotta keep your eye on them from everybody.
Yep.
So, and
No,
especially those.
absolutely. Absolutely, especially the girls.
Right. Well, I have 4 daughters and 1 son. So,
So I have 2 boys and a girl. My little girl is only 9, so she doesn't. I mean, when I tell you that, um, I know you could relate to this. Is anytime I even go to the store with her, I am, she's 9 and I'm like, you're holding my hand. I don't care if you're 9. We're,
mhm,
we don't go in Walmart with her unless we have to, or Target, because funnily, funny enough, the Target that's in our neighborhood or closest to where we live, every week somebody's on one of those mom chat groups like, this creepos follow me in Target today, and nobody does anything about it. You can't do anything. And I'm like, I don't ever go there, but I'm thinking, even if you approach me at my car at Target, I got a couple of things for you. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
we live in this strange part of, we're like northeast, well, northwest ish of Tampa, right? So we're on a coastal community here, and half of our county is red. Actually, more than half, just the county itself. And then the
Hmm.
areas where you have, I don't want to say, you have a lot of people that move from other parts of the state. My community, my neighborhood, it's all pretty conservative, and anything north of me to a certain point is. But then like there's a little area where it's either the super, I want to say, snooty people live, obviously, and then you go there, and even like the Target is like, it's just not, it's it's 10 minutes away, and it's like a whole different part of the world sometimes. But I'm
Hmm.
thinking, like, if they know this is going on at Target, first, why doesn't that Target have additional security? And second, how are these creepo, and they're not for nothing, they're always some type of, you know, immigrant of some variety. They're not, it's like three Haitian guys hanging out. How are they still walking around breathing? I mean, because I don't go to Target. Like, is all I'm saying. Uh,
And so you couldn't do that around here because California's gun laws are like so
yeah,
strict, right? Like you just you can't have anything on you around here.
yeah, that's crazy.
You get stuck with a knife. That's about it. So
Well, which is crazy because it's the West. It's like
yeah,
founded on, rifles and horses. You know,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
like
It's crazy. Like how here they'll punish you for protecting yourself. Like there's a law that they just put in, or they're trying to pass, where if somebody breaks into your home
I
and
saw that shit. I saw it.
you murder them in your home,
Yeah,
you're responsible. You're liable, right? You could go to jail for murder
you better
for
have
protecting
insurance.
yeah. So I'm supposed to let them come in here and whack everybody and then
Yeah.
deal with the consequences after the fact?
Well,
Yeah, no, okay. I think I'll go to prison. So
Florida has the stand your ground castle
yeah,
law. Like you can't, even if you're on my porch and I think you're coming in, it's game over, bud. you know.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not a violent guy by any means, but I will do, like, going back to my daughter. I don't know what I would ever do. I found somebody that had done something with her or inappropriate. And then my boys are 16 and 11.
Hmm.
We had this conversation on Saturday. Is like, by the time she's like ready in high school to go date boys, nobody's gonna want to be. They're gonna be like, no, no, thank you. 'Cause
Right.
her oldest brother will be an adult. Her middle brother will be almost out of high school as well. Too. It's crazy.
Yeah. See, my oldest daughter's 25.
Yeah.
I have another daughter who's 22.
Yeah.
My son is 20. My daughter is a senior in high school. She's 18, and
Hmm.
then my little girl's 9.
It's a
And
great. The
so,
9-year-old age is great.
yeah,
They still
yeah,
think they're cool a little bit.
she still thinks I'm cool. Um, but she's at that point right now. She's like, she doesn't want anybody like around her. For they come to pick like, we'll come to pick her up. Why are you here so early?
Yes. Yeah. Can she?
Where's mom at? Why is your mom not picking me up? So,
So my daughter is in the gymnastics. She's a cheerleader, that kind of stuff. Mostly because we're like a sports family, obviously.
mhm.
With my middle child, and she is totally into all my. I love my wife. We've been together 23 years. My wife has never. She's a woman. She's not a girl. She's not a girly girl, right? She got to
Mhm.
be to deal with somebody like me. My daughter is the opposite. She loves hair, and I'm not saying my wife doesn't do this. And honey, don't take this in the bad way, but my daughter will spend 40 minutes trying to do her put on lip gloss because she's not allowed to put regular makeup on. She'll brush her hair 100 times. She's got to have a matching outfit. Her shoes have to be this, and it's got to be Nike Pro this, and I'm just like, can we get out of the house?
Yeah, I see. My youngest one, she's not that way yet.
Oh God,
She's she's she'll throw on mismatched socks and have a mismatched pair of
bless
shorts
you,
and a different
bless
color
you.
shirt. She's got the door ready to go to school because she don't care about that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
It doesn't
God.
bother her. But my 18-year-old, right? She's an 18-year-old. Her hair's got to always be done and all
I
that
was just
eyelash.
so shocked that at 9 it's a thing for her, and I'm like, can't like I try to take her. Oh God, it doesn't matter. Publix, which Publix is the world's greatest grocery store. I don't know what you guys have out there, but Publix is the world's best grocery store on the planet. If you've never heard of it, if you ever come to Florida, go have a pub sub. It will change your life. So we're going to Publix, and it's like right around the corner from the house. And I'm like, we just got to go grab some milk or something. Okay, Dad. And like I shit you not, 45 minutes later, we're walking out of the house. I'm like, and I can't be mad at her. You don't. I don't. I think I very much believe that the way your father treats you, especially as a girl, is what you're going to expect out of a husband one day. So I
Hmm.
don't want my little girl to think it's okay that I'm mad at her or I'm impatiently waiting for her, even though on the inside I am fucking dying, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
guys out there,
I get it.
be really good to your little girls because if you're not, they're going to wind up with somebody who is probably not so nice and then you might have to murk.
Yeah, yeah. Pay attention.
Dude,
That's a big thing.
100%. That's such great
Pay
advice.
attention. Um, and I'm not just talking about pay attention like, hey, give them a hug and tell them you love them.
Yeah.
Pay attention to who they're hanging around with.
Yeah.
Pay attention to all that shit.
Dude, because
Because the minute they
you are
use
your circle. You are the people that you associate with, the people you spend time with, the people you give your attention to. And
exactly
that you don't
100%.
always get to control yourself then. You can control whether or not you spend time with them. But the more you hang out with people that maybe don't have your best interest in heart and realize, and this might be true for you and your kids too, is if you get one or two really good friends, you're lucky. You're really lucky. Value those relationships.
Yeah, like I don't have, I have more acquaintances than I have
100%.
friends. Obviously, most people do. I have the amount of good friends that I have, I could count them on my hand, and I could probably only use a couple digits.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that
Mhm.
because I don't like to have my business out in the open. I'm very private. And if I'm telling you something personal, then obviously I put a lot of trust into you. And so, like I said, I only have a couple of those friends. One is the guy that I actually work with. I've been working with him for like 13 years, and I consider him a pretty close friend.
Yeah.
And then my other close friend, I've known him since I was 16 years old. Although we're Um, we got our own families. We've been far apart for many years. That doesn't change the fact that anytime I pick up that phone and I call him and I
Hmm.
talk to him, it's we pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. It's just another time, right? But our relationship don't change, and so those things are for kids to have. Is you're going to go through a lot of people, right? But when you come across those friends,
Hold on.
hold on to them because they
Hold
are hard to come by.
hold on. If it, and even if they push you away, hold on. It's like a regular
Yeah.
relationship. My wife and I, like I said, 23 years, and it's not always perfect, but you definitely every day something new happens that you have to work on in some variety. And people often will just, and I probably sound like a broken record to anybody who's been paying attention over the last couple of weeks, but it's consistently working at just being better. You know, that's just
Yeah,
how it is. It's how friendships are. It's how relationships are. It's how everything is.
and I try to tell that to my kids, and I don't try. I do tell them,
Yeah.
but kids are kids, and they're not going to listen until
Really.
you can tell them until they're blue in the face, right? They're going to do what they want to do, and
Yeah.
that's me being a father of five. Like I've seen it
Yeah.
all, and with my son, I told him that over and over and over and over
So
again.
he's
Like,
20. You said.
he's 20,
Yeah. Oof.
and
He thinks
yeah,
he's a
he's
man.
kind
He
of
thinks he's a man.
well, he thinks he's a man.
Yeah.
He had to learn the hard way, and I told him that he was going to learn the hard way. And I said, we can do this two ways, man. Like you can learn the easy way, you can learn the hard way. I've been there, I've done that. There's nothing that you can do in your life that I haven't already done, and it didn't work because
Yeah.
if it did, I would be successful at it.
Yeah.
I said, so there's nothing you're gonna, put past me. I said, so, if you do these things like I'm telling you, you might find success, but you're not gonna find success the way you're doing it because you're making the wrong moves. And he's like, yeah, well, I gotta learn on my own. Well, you don't have to. You're
Yeah.
choosing to.
No.
You're choosing to learn on your own instead of taking the advice of the people that have been there and done that. And
Well,
right now he got smacked in the face with a here's life, and I'm saying, hey, that's what you chose, and so hey, you're the man now.
yeah.
You're gonna have to figure it out, son.
Yeah.
Tell me when you figure it out.
Well, it's
So
like you said before. You had your oldest daughter very young, and that
mhm.
changes you. Obviously, your life changed obviously for in a different direction than maybe what it had been going, but also it forces you to grow up so quickly. And everybody and that I know, and we were relatively young because I'm 41. So like he's six. So we were still relatively young. Definitely, not prepared like we thought we were. But it changes everything about the way you do your actual life. And I don't know that kids today are equipped the same way that you know our generations were to handle that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, they 100% they're not, and, it's weird because me and my wife talk about it. She's like, it's this generation. It's just like that's the way they are.
Yeah,
They're not prepared for a lot of things, but I think they're really fucking smart.
dude. And they have this. We didn't. When I
Yes,
was you know 16, I got my first cell phone because I was driving, and you couldn't do shit but make a phone call on it.
right. They have technology at their fingertips,
Yeah,
and there's so much stuff that they can learn. And I said, but it's the will to want to learn.
yeah,
Some of these kids are like, well, school's out. I,
yeah.
I'm done. I don't want to learn no more. I'm learning what I can learn here, but I don't want to do no more.
It's almost like they're jaded by the availability of information.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, right? And I was having this conversation the other day with my wife, and then my mother-in-law was here, and we were talking about my son. And I said, I'm always having to evolve, always having to learn something new all the time. I said, I never stop learning. I'm always learning something new. I said, when I started this social media journey,
Yeah,
I didn't know shit about social media. I knew how to get on it. I knew how to navigate and look for what I was looking for,
yeah,
but I didn't know nothing about trying to make content or making videos or even talking because that's not who I am or that's not who I was. I wasn't that guy that was going to come out here and just like get on the camera and start talking to people and talking about my life or my feelings, and that wasn't how I was raised.
Right.
The feelings part, I wasn't raised to tell that kind of information, right?
Dude, 100%.
But right, but just being in front of people, and then when I started to do what I'm doing now, it happened because of work. I had to start doing webinars for my work,
Okay.
right? So I had to start talking to more people than everybody that's kind of like within my office, but then started to talk to customers. So I had to learn to overcome that fear. And then it just became normal. Like I had no problem doing it after that. So I said, well, when I started doing the social media stuff, now I got to get in front of a camera. Now I got to start talking. Now I got to come up with content to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I saw like the progression from like when I first started to now, and I was like, man, like before I was just a bumbling idiot, like just trying to get something out, right? And then you could finally put together some coherent sentences,
Yeah.
and then make a couple videos, and then you just kind of get over it, right? But I had to learn something new. Then that took me into AI, and then that took me into ebooks, and then that took me, and I'm like, there's just so many things that are out there that these kids have the luxury of having right now. And it's almost like, dude, you're taking this shit for granted.
100,
Because I wish I had this shit when I was younger. I wish I had AI when I was younger.
Well, there's, like you said, I'm the majority of my professional life I've spent in some variety of sales or customer service. I was at regional trainers and all this other stuff, and really, really good at my job. So the talking to people part I've always been good at. It's the putting it in front of the camera that, I probably made 20 just drafts, of what I was going to say. And then I'm like, fuck it, let's just rip the band. And I sat in the parking lot one morning. The first video I put up, I think I had 1,000 comments or 1,000 views within an hour, and like 150 comments to the point where I'm like, okay, well, apparently this is how it works. And then it kind of, took a nosedive, but it happens, because
Yeah.
I think the algorithm is pushing you. But from one guy to another guy, that I was always a very private person. I'm open, and I want to say that I'm my kind of nice. Like I'm nice enough to people, but to where it's like, okay, that guy's got a couple of spines. I'm not going to go dick with him, you know. And I've been like
Hmm.
that a very long time because I'm completely okay with the kind of person that I am. And coming out of doing this, making it more than just about getting on and making a TikTok, and finding my own voice to try to help other people because I've always been very passionate about helping, really helped just push me. And my wife, she's like, 10 years ago, she's like, you need to write a book, go be a public speaker, because there's something about the way you relate information people appreciate. And I'm like, I just don't know that I can do that. And now, like you said, going into technology, ChatGPT, all this other stuff that we can do, and this literally, if and I said it last night before I signed off, or Saturday night, I said, there's only thing in the way is you. It's you. If you want to get up and do something, everything is available to you. Amazon will set you up with an entire. I bought almost everything that I use from Amazon. It was thousands of dollars, but it was worth the investment just to get out there to try to help somebody.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
same with you. You just popped up one day and boom.
Yeah. It's weird because that is my outlet.
Yeah.
This is my therapy. Is the making of the videos, the TikTok videos, the content, and the engaging with people or arguing with people for that matter,
Yeah.
in these comments. But that's my therapy. That's how I get things off my chest.
Yeah.
If I'm having a bad day and I want to come home and I just want to make a video. It ain't got to be about me personally, but I'm gonna talk about something I want to talk about, whether you like it or not. I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But that's what helps me. It used to be before it was video games. Like I was
Oh,
big
okay.
on video games, like
Really?
Call of Duty, Madden, and I mean I had been playing Xbox. I mean for years. I mean since before my son was born. Like I was gaming. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Even up until my early 40s. Like I was. That's what I would do. I'd come home and that was how I would unwind.
Yeah.
I'd grab the controller and I'd play like 3 or 4 games of football.
Yeah.
And
And then Madden
but I
became
wasn't
garbage.
right. Well, I didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
There was no reward for me other than I won the game.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I got to try something different. Like, what else can I do besides that that's going to take up my time? What can I do that's more constructive?
Yeah.
And then that's when I said, well, let me give this a try,
Yeah.
right? And then I was like, well, let me give it a try, and then I did. I got one account where I got over 5,000 subscribers,
Okay.
and then I got the one I have right now, which only has like I'm like 1,800, and I'm still building that one up. Hold on a second, let me let my cat out.
Go ahead. Guys, this is podcasting. We say it every time when something happens. Like
Something happened.
a
She
cat.
won't shut up.
This is
Keep
podcasting.
going. Uh, so,
Yeah.
what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, it was like playing the video games, and I haven't even really touched my Xbox ever since I really started doing this
Yeah.
stuff. It's just sitting down here at the bottom of my desk, just like kind of collecting dust. And my nephew came over like a couple weeks ago, and I let him play it or whatever. But I'm almost getting to the point where I'm like, that's like the hard part for me to let go of it
Yeah.
because it's
Well,
got so
it
many memories.
it sounds like mentally you're there because you've got another outlet, another piece of something that constructive to do. That's not just I don't my jam on Madden has always been building franchises, right?
Mhm.
Because I think that's my personality because that's what I did when I was in sales and got into leadership. It was the same. I was building franchises by building up other salespeople to go out and be leaders, right? So it got
Yeah,
to the point where I was skipping everything but the Super Bowl and then going into the draft. Sending everything, skip everything to the Super Bowl, going into the draft,
yeah,
negotiating the contracts. And I'm like, and I was never I was the guy when Madden came out, I played for like 8 weeks straight and I would turn it off and not see it until Super Bowl, like legitimate Super Bowl time. And I didn't do that this year because we were since November of last year, we've been trying to get this off the ground. Originally, the whole theme of the podcast was slightly different. Its name was the same, but it was a different. We were going to do stories about people's tattoos. I have
hmm
tattoo. I see you've got some, and uh,
yeah,
you know, I've got a little bit of a background in that because I'm friends with a lot of artists. We were going to talk to people about why they got tattoos and what it meant to them because every tattoo, just like every person, has a story. And then my wife's like, idiot. Everybody has a story about anything you want to say. Like, how'd you learn to tie your shoes? And oh man, my grandma told. It could be anything. So
right.
that's, you know, like this has been a different kind of outlet, and I'm hoping that I can. I mean, if I get 5,000 subscribers, I would be over the moon. And now you're doing it to a second channel, which is awesome.
Yeah, the first channel is like that's kind of like my TikTok shop
Oh, okay.
channel,
How's that?
and then that is brutal.
Is it?
Yeah, it's tough. Like if you're not, it's not for the weak of heart, man. Like you got to put your time into it. And I don't know if it's because I don't think the market's saturated. Um, I think a lot of it has to do with how I got my account. So I got the account and I started like when I got on one of those follow trains. And so
Fast
it's quite
follow.
possible, like, yeah, it's quite possible that like half of my followers are bots and bullshit, right? So that could be one of the reasons why a lot of my stuff's suppressed. Because I can't get out of that. Like, I can't even get out of the 100 views on that channel.
Oh wow. Okay.
I have like three videos TikToks that I've done. One is actually relatively recent, and it's got like, I know it's got over 10,000 views, and that's for a book. And I think I sold like 5 books. Yeah, so
Okay.
I sold like 5. So when I made my first sale on one of those books, I was like, shit, I actually made some money off this. Like that's crazy. It was a couple bucks, but I was happy
Yeah.
that I was able to do something
Yeah.
and make something like that. And somebody actually said, "Hey, well, I'm gonna buy it just because it might help me,
Yeah.
whatever it is." And so I was like, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to make another channel." That's when I made the X Marks the Truth.
How'd you come up
And
with the name? Were you just like, oh, this is so simple, let me just do it?
no, I was on AI one day and I was just like brainstorming. And I was just throwing all kinds of ideas, and I said, "This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I want to talk about. This is how I was raised. I'm a conservative. I'm this, and this." I gave it all kinds of information about myself, and I said, "Give me like 20 names."
Dude,
Boom! It shot out 20 names, and I was like, "That one sucked. That one sucked. I like that one." And then I said, I ran with it." So
I shit you not, same thing. So
yeah.
I have a lot of ideas always going this, that, and another thing, and I'm like, we're sitting at football practice one night. Actually, it's cheerleading practice because football's over, and I'm sitting talking to my buddy Tom. Shout out Tom. Runs a really cool little EV inspection kind of company, and we're sitting there talking, and he's like, we're starting to get busy and this, that, and another thing, and I'm like, and I pitched the idea of doing the podcast. He goes, dude, you were first of all, personally, we're friends, but I think you were born to talk to people, which I think he's right. And I said, I don't have a theme. And he's like, well, what would you like to talk about? And I told him basically the same thing I just told you about leadership and all this stuff. And he's like, and then what else? I said, well, I'm really into, tattoo art and stuff. So I put this in and it spits out this name and it's like a cup. And this permanent mark is a mixture of two different kinds of names that I got. And we're sitting right there. I turned to Tom and I said, what if we did this? And he goes, dude, that's the name. Don't change it. He calls up his
Hmm.
friend right away. His name is also Mike, and he goes, "Hey, it's it's uh it's Mike, Mike, we know each other." He goes, "He's got this great idea for this podcast, and this guy's a web developer, and this is CQ Bits, which is my sponsor." He's like, "No, I'm going to build him a website. We're going to launch him." So this was like a sign to go and do it because now I've got all these, like, okay, you got the name, you've got a back already, get your equipment and get started, stupid. And let me tell you, it took me forever just to come out, just to be like, man, I'm really gonna do this. Like, I'm really gonna go after this. Just kind of like what you're saying. You get on TikTok Shop, you make one or two things happen, and then next thing you know, you're like constantly working on it. I feel like that I've been the last 3 months, really specifically the last 3.5 weeks, because that's when we started going live with everything. We've been testing it, and like, I'm a little bit of I get super distracted, you know,
Hmm.
it drives my wife nuts. But I'm rambling at this point. Anyway, we just it took forever to do, and I'm so glad that we did it, and to have some exposure already. I mean, we're getting comments, and obviously, never dreamed that within 2 weeks of doing it, we'd be talking to somebody that we don't know each other, we never met before, but you saw my
Yeah.
content, and I'm like, let's do it. Like, giddy up, let's go. Because there's no barrier. Like, it's for you. Let's go do it because you seem like a good dude. So it's like, let's just go and make something happen.
Yeah. My brother has a YouTube channel, and he kind of he's just telling his life story. And my brother is a biker, not in the biker gang. He likes motorcycles.
Okay.
So he has a Harley. It's it's really really nice, beautiful bike. And when he got that bike, he kind of just he didn't switch his identity. He's kind of always been that person.
Yeah.
But when he got that bike, it brought that out of him. And the people
Yes.
he the people that he then surrounded himself with after that were like he was like a moth to a flame, and people would just gravitate toward him.
Yeah.
And he amassed a pretty big following on Instagram. I think he's probably got like 30, 40,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
He's got a TikTok, and he's got a YouTube. But his YouTube he created to catalog his life because he's dying of stage 4 cancer,
Oh
and
shit.
he's terminal at this point. So um,
I'm sorry, man.
for
That's
the
tough.
yeah, it's pretty tough. So for the past 2 years, he's been documenting his journey, and now it's coming to an end. And
What's
he
the name
has
of his
he has
channel?
it's called Chicano Style Bikers. So it's Xicano Style Bikers, and it's him and his wife, my sister-in-law, and it's that's why he created that channel, and it was for him to be immortalized because at this point he's digital. I'll never ever be able to forget what my brother sounds like or looks like.
Right.
I'll be able to go to that channel at any point in time and listen to my brother because I know at some point he's gonna be gone. I just visited him on Saturday. That's where I was,
You were saying,
and
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's bedridden
Oh,
and just kind of pumped up on morphine. Um,
he's
you know,
almost palliative care then.
yeah, it's hospice, so
Man.
at this point they're just waiting for him to go.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry, man. Um, losing a relative or that was me with my dad. He terminal cancer and happened pretty quick. The man had been, for me, sick the majority of my life, but when he got really sick with terminal cancer, it was really bad. And I don't. You said your brother's been going through it for 2 years. Um, Good for him for fighting that long as it is, and I'm
Yeah, he
sure,
put up a good fight. He did
and
for sure. He put up a good fight.
dude, and then having his life documented like that is such a gift to the world. It's a gift to you. It's a gift. Does he have children?
Yeah, he's got kids.
Gift to his kids. I mean, that's beautiful. And if there's any, not that my reach is great or wide, but if there's anything that we could do I don't know if he's got like a GoFundMe or if he's doing, uh, anything for like cancer research. Hit me up. We'll put it on. At the end of a couple episodes and just see if anybody wants to help out. I mean, I'm all about
Yeah,
trying to help.
yeah. I believe he does have a GoFundMe. And like a lot of people have helped him over the last couple of years. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just been crazy. And the amount of support that my sister-in-law gets just from people that are from all over the world,
yeah.
you know, is a
Is it?
testament to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, no. Go.
A testament to how far his reach was when he didn't think his reach was that far. For people to message her, hey, this is what's going on with me, and I always listen to your husband, and I learned this from him, or I learned that from him. And I can see the way he loves his wife, the way he treats her. That it's special, and it took my brother a long time to find her, but now he had this short window, and it's that window's closing, and it was almost like a movie. Like really, it was like a love story, like a movie. They met. He's like, "I'm gonna marry you," and he ended up marrying her. He's just, and
He
then
knew it.
here he is, several years, a few years later. I think they've been married 3, 4 years, but then the cancer happened, and she's stood by his side this whole time. She didn't step away, and she's a special person because that's not for everybody. That's a hard thing to sit there
It
and watch
is.
somebody wither away, um, and then for you to just sit there and watch. That's not easy.
The
So
hopelessness
I
that you
commend
can
her.
feel. The power.
Mhm.
You've got no power over the outcome. You don't
Right.
get the right to end of your story.
Mm-mm. No. And then my sister she's got cancer. She's got breast cancer, and she's going in next week to have her surgery to have her mastectomy, double mastectomy. So it's like a double whammy, man. Like cancer hit
Dude.
my brother, hit my sister.
Yeah,
So
and breast cancer is super survivable now, which is
mhm.
science. So
Yeah,
hopefully she recovers and is fine. We've had a couple of family members, same thing. This disease doesn't care who you are, doesn't care what you do or what kind of impact you have on other people. It just doesn't care. It's
yeah. Cancer
ruthless.
is ruthless.
Yeah,
She's a bitch, and she does not care. She has no feelings. She doesn't care how strong you are. She doesn't care how old you are. She doesn't care how young you are. She will
well,
kill you with no
and this
remorse.
this
So
is something that's relatively new for me. And you said it on one of my comments about people need to get back to you know church and understanding things, and that's where I'm in the beginning of this your relationship with God that I don't understand yet, and it's
mhm.
very complicated because there's a lot of hurt associated with that. So for you to have faith to go through that, and I'm assuming your family does too. It's must be tremendously comforting. And I'm looking forward to what this journey brings me as we start moving towards it as a family. It's very intriguing, but hopefully they can lean into that and helps them a little bit. Because it's not the end. No matter who you are, what you think, I don't think we're just here and then we just disappear one day. You know?
No, I don't believe that either. And you know, it was weird because I never thought I'd have to tell my brother or have that conversation with him. Just to whisper in his ear, hey, I love you, and I'll see you again, whether
Yeah.
it's in this life or the next. But I'll find you. To me, and my brother are close. We're 4 years apart, but he was more than just my brother. You know,
Yeah.
he's at some points he was my father figure too. He
Sure.
helped raise me, and so that's how I see him. And for when I talk to my brother, I text him or call him. He doesn't call me by my name. He doesn't call me brother. He calls me son. Hey, what's up, son? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so that's our relationship. So uh, you know, you can never prepare for what's about to happen.
No.
And, nobody's ever ready,
No.
right? You can prepare yourself and think that you're ready. But when I got the call like a couple weeks ago or last week when they said, yeah, there's nothing they can do. They said
And
it's this many months, but it could be as soon as 2 weeks. So
well, and for
that was
you,
hard.
it's always tough. But like you said, if you guys are that close, you're losing part of yourself, a beacon in
Mm-hmm.
your life. So you got to hope. Obviously, like you said, he's leaving lasting messages on the world and on you, and you got to carry that with you. It's a it's a I don't want to call it a burden, but it's something that you will have to carry with you,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that in a way because I was relatively young when my dad died, and then we one of our children died too, and that was really
Sorry to hear that.
really difficult. So um, that kind of stuff is it's always that's the hard shit that we all deal with that we have to come, like I said at the top of the show, is like we've all got different shoes, man, but we're walking the same path, you know.
Yeah, and we can blame God. I mean, because God knows that I blamed Him for a
Yeah,
lot too.
yeah, 100%.
Why? Why is my brother being taken away? Why does my sister have cancer? Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to that? And it goes on and on. I mean, my mom's very religious,
Hmm.
and so is my dad now. And I was having this conversation with my dad, and he's like, I'm just praying. I'm just asking God to take me, let me go. I've lived long enough. Take me. Let your brother stay. And I was like, that's not how it was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
I said,
we say
this is
you are where you're supposed to be, and whatever that is, you're dealt the card, and you got to play it.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
guys will
That's
get through it. It sounds like you're a very strong family. You've got your circle of your sister and your sister-in-law, and you guys have this family unit. It's going to be tough. Don't lose each other. That's not that I have, I don't have a. If this would be the equivalent to Mark dying, is from what I
mhm.
gather. You it's a grenade, you know, and you just got to do your best to keep everybody together, and I'm sure your dad will, keep everybody on, together. I'm sure he will. Between you and him, it
Oh
sounds like you
yeah.
guys are going to be fine.
I think we'll be fine. And I'm pretty strong minded, and when it comes to my family, I'm the rock.
Yeah,
I have to be that guy, right? I have to be their rock. I have to be the one that they can
shoulder
come
the
to.
load.
Yeah, I got to be able to do it all, and I'm okay with that, and
Do you,
that's my job.
if I
So
can ask, do you think that you put that burden on yourself, or that load on yourself, or is it something that just came naturally because of your human experience?
that's just something that I developed just out of my experience of just growing up and becoming the man that I've become.
Hmm.
Um, I know that there's going to be things that my wife and my kids cannot handle that I'm going to have to handle,
Yeah.
that I'm going to have to take care of, and it's okay. Like and there's times that I've told my daughter, my 18-year-old, there's things that have happened to her, and I said, you don't have to carry that burden. You let me carry it for you.
Yeah.
That's not for you to worry about. That's my problem. Don't worry about that. Don't burden yourself with that. You let dad take care of that. So don't ever think that you have to carry this for yourself. Let
You
me
know,
do
I,
it.
in my mind, I hope that there are a lot of dads like you out there, and I think I count myself in on that too. While I think we're always learning as parents how to do that. But I hope that there are a lot more men out there that do that. I just don't know that. I guess it just depends on how you were brought up or how you grow up or whatever it is. There's you see it's probably 50-50 at best. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you guys
Oh,
have
they're
done
out
a
there.
great
There's a lot
response.
out there. But I know you're out there. So you guys are out there. You guys got to tap in,
Yeah,
follow
absolutely.
along.
Yeah. So real quick,
Yeah.
pyramids. Let's
Yeah.
get off some crazy shit because we just had a really good conversation, and I appreciate the shit out of that, by the way, because we're
Well,
strangers just trying to get to know each other here. Um, so I I have never. That's not true. I've always kind of been into the ancient history and how I don't know that we all, again, faith. You don't know everything. Nobody's ever going to know everything. There's no way to know what's happened before us because there's absolutely no way to tell if anybody that wrote it down was telling the truth,
mhm.
right?
Right.
So,
Right.
from what I understand, this new pyramid discovery will basically, once it's all said and done, is going to change history. Like,
Hmm.
from the the understanding of our timeline as humans on the planet have has just been rocked, and it's one of those things that we said before. I don't feel like anybody's paying that much attention to it. You've got cylindrical shafts that are taller than the tallest building in the world underneath the pyramid, Great Pyramid of Giza, and at the bottom of them are four giant. We don't know what they are, but they're hollow and they're the size of the pyramid itself. And I'm going to
Right.
take a wild step
Like
here and
chambers,
say, huh?
like chambers underneath.
They don't. They're not calling them chambers. They're calling them. Uh, I don't. I'm not. I fact check me, internet. I don't know, but they're enormous. I
Hmm.
would. I would think that that probably continues out a lot further than they've already done the ground penetrating radar for. But how do they do that? Like you got like how do you can't even drill in that sand the way it is now. Like, and you've got these 400 meters or whatever they are. They're absolutely enormous pillars, and there's eight of them or whatever, and they got spiral staircases in them. Like, how do you even
Well,
get
they said
into it?
that they got coils, right? That's what they refer to it as,
Okay,
coils.
coils, yeah, but people are saying there might be
So
staircases.
well, they could be staircases, but when I saw what I saw, the picture, the diagram that they had,
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, okay, they got these cylinders, they got coils, so we're talking about some sort of energy here.
that's my first thought.
Um, what else is beneath that? Is this some sort of power plant?
Yeah,
What is it? Because
dude, that
there's not
seems to
just
be the
one,
prominent
there's three of
theory.
them, right?
That seems
So
to be what everybody says, and then you know, if that's true, then was there I'm not a fan. I appreciate Graham Hancock. Are you familiar with him?
yeah, yeah,
So
I'm
he's
familiar
got
with
this, ancient apocalypse theory where we're basically going through a reset every 20,000 years or something like that.
it. Hmm.
And then that you've got all these crazy mud flood people, and then don't even get me started on the flat earthers. But there's definitely something I think we can say now. I think this is the most compelling evidence that we have. I believe that whatever we are has been here perhaps longer than we thought, and that we were way more advanced, maybe even than we are now. And we're talking about how great technology is. Imagine if you could generate energy like a lot of people are suggesting that's what the pyramids have been for a long time. Think about the amount of knowledge that has to have been, whether or not the planet was, completely overrun by what we would consider aliens or us, or I don't know, man. Like, it blows my mind to think about it.
Yeah, there's so many different ways you could run with this, and as a Christian,
Yeah,
it goes against everything that I believe in, right?
right.
So I'm at this point where it's like, okay, well, if there's if you're gonna give me more information, that's gonna make me second guess with
Yep.
whatever I've been talking about. Uh, you know, it's gonna open up a Pandora's box, and everybody's faith is gonna be in question. I don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, Catholic, whatever it is.
Everyone, everybody.
Everyone, everybody is going to be affected by whatever it is they find down there. And if we can get some more information, that would be great because right now we're just obviously going off of this new technology that they're using, right? But it's very compelling, right? You're looking at this and you're like, damn,
I
it
was
makes you
thinking, I was
second
like,
guess yourself.
I'm thinking like, oh, just when I'm ready to start having a real relationship with, God. Oh, wait a second. There's there's a giant, 100,000-year-old pillars underneath. At least, I don't know, man. It's crazy, and that's that. But then you think about it. At least for me, in the infancy of this, is that going back to knowing that we never really know what's going on, and maybe we have been through resets many many times, and maybe it's always been the same story, and you're just like your human experience, you change one or two things and it changes everything, you know.
Yeah. But I hope we get more information. I hope it's not like um, kind of like the shit that's going on with the government, where
With the
they're
JFK files,
what they're talking
CIA.
about. Oh yeah, we're going to give you all this information, and well, where's it at? Like you're blowing smoke at my ass. Don't blow smoke at
Dude,
my
so
ass.
far
Like,
that's been the biggest letdown with Trump, is not giving the information as fast as, and I don't know why it is. And he's got Patel and everybody in there. Should be nobody blocking him from getting this, other than the deep state is way deeper than we know. Way
yeah,
deeper.
still waiting for these
What's that?
this Epstein stuff, right? The Epstein stuff, we're still waiting
Oh,
on that.
yeah.
Uh, so it's just, and that's the hard part for me is like, yeah, I voted the way I voted because I thought things were going to change, but these people are they all have the same agenda. There is nothing new under the sun here, and they're just going to continue to blow smoke up our ass
Yeah.
and tell us what we want to hear while the other stuff is still happening on the backside. So, it's for me, it's okay. We got this new information about these pyramids. Great. Just don't blow smoke up my ass. Let me have all the information.
Finish the damn story. And it's like
Yeah.
the UFO.
Let me have all the facts.
Well, and it's the UFO UAP thing. I don't believe we'll ever know exactly what that was. During the holidays where we saw all of those enormous crafts that, and then you go back to the Tic Tac videos of that little tiny, I
Yeah.
mean, traveling at unquestionably fast speeds. And then last weekend in Daytona, did you see that video?
No.
Somebody captured some type of, and listen, it's all on it looks like somebody recorded it on a Motorola Razor flip phone, if you ask me. But it looks, at least appears, that a glowing orb, it comes up out of the water to where you can see a cascade of water
Okay.
coming over it.
There was it the one where they showed it was at night and there was like two orbs go
Yes.
above the ocean? Okay, yeah, I saw that.
One came out,
I
and
didn't watch it all, but I did see it.
the other one came out of that one. And I haven't. I mean, I think that's what happened. I might be getting things confused, but that's not been the first time they've seen that. And then the thing that happened in Miami last year with the mall being shut down, and there's just so much. It's overwhelming how much stuff there is out there, and like you said, even the stuff that we know about, with the JFK files and what they said about MLK, which if you read any of that, it's absolutely mind blowing. Just
Mhm.
these, and I don't know the woman's name, but she was on Sean Ryan months ago and very recently back on him again, and she's basically
Uh,
saying that
Sarah, what's
I,
her last name? I know you're talking about
yeah,
the
she gets on there and basically says the first time that if you only knew half the stuff that we suspect, you would not believe anything you ever heard, and furthermore that everything you think you know about politics is all a lie, and that's why they
one.
don't like Trump very much, because it seems to me that since the I think it really started in the 50s, and I think it really started with JFK personally, which is why I don't think we're getting a lot of the information. I think that there's been a concerted effort between the name, the ABC people, to really control the narrative of what our country is. The people that are elected, and I think if you could be blind and see that, especially with when it came to Biden, because Kamala would have never won anyway, and they were just gonna, they didn't bother to ask anybody about it. They're just like, oh yeah, she's the one. Everybody give up your ability to vote for her, to nominate her. It's just gonna be this, because that's what we're gonna do, because nobody gives a shit. And then they turn around and accuse Trump of doing that exact thing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I wish people were. I wish there was. I don't want to say no division, because you need it to be a healthy country, but I wish people would just use some common sense when it comes to everything. And I don't love, just like you. I don't think I love everything Trump does. He's the kind of guy I want leading my country. He's not the kind of guy I want coming over for Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah,
Drunk
and
uncle.
yeah, I told my wife that too. It's like I don't believe everything he says, and I don't agree with everything he says.
Yeah.
Um, but I sure in the hell don't agree with everything that the left is talking
It's
about
even
and what
worse.
they're doing. and what they want to do. I don't want all this stuff in our kids' schools. I don't want my kid to have to learn about, um,
Oh, I
you know,
lost your video. There you go. Go back.
yeah, let me plug my power cord in here in my
Go for
phone.
it.
All right,
Here.
there we go.
Good. Oh yeah.
So yeah,
And
I
then
don't want to have to go through all that bullshit and you to try to tell me what my kid needs to learn and these bathrooms, the bathroom issue, the restroom issue, right? It's like, why are we even talking about this shit? Like,
again, it's
why
all
are we
it's
even
designed
here?
to cut you a little bit and distract you from what's going on because uh, I think that I hate to say it, and I'm going to say it because I've said it several times now, is that the most unifying event that we have had in the last 30 years is unquestionably 9/11.
Yes.
If that were, if and this is the same woman that was on Sean Ryan, basically said that because I guess she is either in the government or whatever, and it doesn't give a shit anymore. Basically, that if you knew what the sleeper cells were within America, you would be terrified to go to the grocery store. And then,
Right. Yeah. And I agree with that 100%. Like, you know that all those people that were coming up from the southern border,
and
all the people that they
Canada
let come across, huh?
and Canada,
And through Canada were coming into the United States from all over the world. And you know damn whether a lot of them were terrorists.
yep,
And there are terror cells here. And, yeah, if I was to sit here and think about that kind of stuff and say, well, put me in fear of my life where I didn't want to walk outside my door or go
yeah,
shopping or go to the mall, that's like the definition of terrorism, right? They're going to terrorize the shit out of you so you don't go do anything. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go do that. Like I'm still going to go do what I need to do. I'm not going to let that change who I am. But a lot of people are afraid. A
do
lot of people are afraid.
do you do you feel that maybe not within your community specifically, but here, all right, here in Florida, because I happen to think we have a really good. He's a great um, governor. I don't know that he would make a great president, if I'm being honest. But DeSantis is a great dude. He's done a lot for the state. There's a lot of shit he hasn't done either, and I'm not going to gloss over that because there's a lot of things that I wish he did a little bit different when it comes to like public affairs and things like that. But overall, he does a really good job of giving us the tools that we need to be as independent as we can, like Texas, and we feel that in the community. Do you
Hmm.
feel that in California, and even though it's an enormous state and you're not, you know, do you feel like your governor is not for you as a citizen there, but is for the over immigration that you're experiencing there? You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, I know he's he's pro for that kind of stuff. It's
Then
just
what's the end game?
yeah, I don't know. I
And
don't know, and the way they keep going is like they're gonna be building up for what's coming up after him, right? So now we might have Kamala,
you, oof.
and I mean, yeah, that would
Listen, if anybody could turn California red, it would be Kamala. I think. You know,
maybe,
I don't know, man. She's not very popular anywhere. It seems like I know she won the general electoral, college there, but I don't think she was very close on the popular vote. If I'm not right, am I correct?
yeah. She for me to look how California is going and what Gavin Newsom has done and what they're trying to accomplish here, and just completely burn this place to the ground,
Almost literally.
almost literally.
Yeah.
And we can go back to those fires, but it that's why a lot of people are leaving, right? So you had this mass exodus.
Yeah.
People left California, and I'm like, I might have to leave, right? Because I don't want to have to leave California, but at some point I might have to, and it's not just because of how dangerous in some areas can be, and how bad the crime is in some areas. It's just the fact that you can't afford to be out here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking just taxes alone. I'm like, shit. I just got a bonus like a couple weeks ago. The state took more taxes from me than the feds did.
Shit.
Yeah, and I was like, I got hit with like a $1,500 tax. And I'm like, fuck, the state just took way more from me, and I got you got the gas taxes, taxes. I mean, taxes for everything. I mean, it doesn't really matter what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to be taxed when we die.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part, right? So
Well, those are two
there's a
things you
death
can't
tax.
escape, right? Death and taxes. You
You
know.
can't escape it. Death and taxes. And for me, it's uh, I I don't know where this place is going to go, and I don't ever think that this place could ever turn red,
Man,
ever.
I hope
Just
hope for
because
your
of the
kids'
simple
sake.
fact. Yeah, just for the simple fact of you know where everything is situated. Because at one point in time they were talking about splitting California up into like 5 different states,
Yeah.
right? So that way we could at least
Be the
vote in who
51st,
we wanted to
52nd,
vote.
and 53rd. Yeah.
Yeah, vote in who we wanted. We could have in those areas where it was red. Chances are you're probably going to have a Republican governor or
Yeah.
so. But at this point, it's like, man,
I mean, don't tempt Papa T with a good time. You know, he might come up there and slice that bitch up. You know.
I would appreciate it if you did. I think I think it would be beneficial. Um,
Well,
but yeah,
if we get the IRS gets abolished, which it should, that'll help out a lot of people. But I don't know that in places like where you live, Florida's it's expensive. You know, obviously our homeowners insurance is astronomical here. We were in a
hmm
region that got I don't want to say we didn't get decimated because the low lying areas during the hurricane season last year, most houses flooded because I'm 3 miles off the Gulf of America. Okay, I'm right here, so I'm high enough to where we didn't flood, but it certainly got wind and rain. You know, uh, those things all the way back to Andrew have impacted the way Florida, insurance rates go, and we don't have carriers, we don't have state tax, but I don't know. I don't. I think we're probably like third overall when it just comes to living expenses. Like eggs, I'm sure eggs are shortage by you as well. I think eggs are like $8 or $9 a carton for 12 eggs, which is insane. They used to be $1.50. You know, just stuff
yeah,
like
they
that.
just
We
paid
feel it
seven
too,
dollars. You
huh?
know, I just paid like $7.89 the other day for a dozen eggs at the store.
Right. It's crazy, and
And
we
it's
all
crazy.
that's a universal thing, right? For here, for us, it's always about car insurance and homeowners insurance, and then property taxes. The area again that I live in the last 20 years has probably quadrupled in population because every coastal town in Florida is now becoming densely populated. So if they can, they're going to tax the shit out of you, you know. So I don't want,
Go
huh?
ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, we were talking about insurance, and for the state of California, it is fucking crazy how much they charge the people. Like if you can't get, because I think was it State Farm or I think State Farm left California.
I didn't
They
know
didn't
that.
want to.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give people their insure the land just because of the fire. So people who live up in the mountains, up in the foothills, they have a hard time getting insurance, and if they can get it, they end up having to get it through the state, which
That's
then
crazy.
the state just rapes the hell out of them
It's the same
with
thing here.
taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So that's why they're a lot of people are having to try to sell their homes, right? And then
Yeah.
after the fire, or actually even before the fire, a lot of those people's insurance got canceled,
Mysteriously
right?
canceled.
Yeah, it got canceled. Then all of a sudden the fire happens, and people are just shit out of luck. They're either having to sell their property, they're having to lose the land, right? But they're not going to renew their insurance. If they're going to get insurance, they're going to have to get it to the state of California, and it's like way more expensive just to get it to the state of California.
Yeah,
And I'm
so
like,
it's
and
the
this
same
is
thing here. We have a Citizens is the state-funded insurance policy. Who writes it or who underwrite? I have no idea. But
mhm.
if you're in a situation like if you own your house, you don't have to have insurance in Florida, so no big deal.
Mm,
But if you have a mortgage of any variety or a loan, you have to have insurance. So they force, and I would say probably half of the state is state-run insurance, which in itself is a racket. Which is one of the things that I wish that DeSantis would do, but it's a enormous fucking machine, and it just like it is with you. It's just like how do you? There's so much waste. I don't know. I'm sure you didn't, but we are. DeSantis is creating Florida's own Department of Economic Efficiency. Uh, so Doge like to cut all the shit out because it's just crazy. And the insurance companies, you know, it's primarily roofing, which is the biggest issue, because there's a bunch of really shitty companies out there that make unnecessary claims on homes, and that's by far outside of having water damage in your house. Having a roof put on your house here is at least $20,000 just for an average size house, because
Yeah,
they
right.
can get it and because you have to have it. So that kind of stuff really fucks up all insurance, because you have guys out there that just go, "Oh yeah, you do," just it's and that's the same with insurance adjusters and public adjusters and anybody who comes in for a home service that can get paid by your insurance company has ruined Florida for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I wish they would, you know, have some sort of uh, department like that here in California to look for all the waste and fraud. Um, I mean,
They
we
don't
could
want it.
talk about the damn, we could talk about the damn high speed rail that's going nowhere. That's
Ha-
been
have they not
going
been
on
building
for,
that for 25 years?
yeah, I, it's been so long, and there's like stretches of it that are being worked on still, and then it got shortened. Like it was supposed to go from, um, I think it was like Los Angeles up to, I think you probably would have been able to get to like up to the Bay Area. Then they shrunk it. And I'm like, but they're like so many billions of dollars over budget, and it's still not done.
Not
Like
done.
it was supposed to be done a long time ago. Yeah, it was. I forget how many billions of
That's
dollars
just
that they were over budget.
inconsistency and wastefulness at its best. We do
Yeah,
it too. We do.
yeah,
I'm not saying Florida. We're not perfect. We do a lot of stupid shit. Like
yeah.
there's
This
roads
should have
that,
been done.
huh?
This should have been done already. This should
Oh
have been
yeah.
done several years ago.
Well,
And
with the
you still
state
drive
you're
down the freeway, and you can still see the freaking them working on the high speed rail.
and
It's
legitimately
crazy.
with the state your size, you should have one. I think they put one in here from Miami to Orlando. I think it opened last year. I just want to take it for fun because it's like that drive from Miami to Orlando is horrendous because the traffic is awful, and the train's like an hour and 10 minutes, and it's like a 4.5 5 hour drive, easy.
Hmm.
So like, it's a high speed train, not a rail. It's not the same, I guess, but they did it in like 12 years. So
If, I think that if they wanted somebody's expert advice, they should have went to who is it? Is it China or Japan that's got the bullet train?
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
why are you not
Did
using the expert?
completely off subject, but did you see the movie that was based off the bullet with Brad Pitt in it, where he's on the bullet train and like he's trying to fight people? It was awesome. And you're
No, I
like,
didn't
man,
get to see that one.
is that train really that fast? He like throws somebody out the train and is eviscerated by just the wind alone. Just you're thinking, man, how fast is that fucker going? Anyway,
Yeah,
that's my
I've checked that movie. Yeah, I saw it, but I mean, I've seen I remember the
I think
trailers and stuff, but I never
I think
watched
it's
it.
called Bullet Train. I have no idea. It's on Netflix. I watched it a few weeks ago. It was great. That's my
Yeah,
ADHD kicking in. But
it's all right. I'm gonna have to watch it.
yeah. So a couple of things. I said this, but if you could, I always ask this question, and I hope you have some good advice for it. If you could go back to your 16, 17, 18-year-old self and give advice that you would actually listen to based off the knowledge you have now, what would that advice be?
don't don't give up and don't stop. Keep going, even when you think that everything is falling around you and nothing can seem to go right and go your way. It will if you just keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop doing it. Don't You gotta drown out that outside noise. Don't pay attention to your friends.
Yeah.
Do what's right, what you know is right in your heart, and if you can do that, you'll be just fine. But you turned out just fine already anyway. But if you wanted to go a different
See,
route,
that's it. See, that's the thing is like you go back and you say something that could drastically, I guess, really without changing anything. That's the advice you would give, though, right?
yeah, don't. Yeah, the big thing is the friends, and we'll go back to what we had said earlier. You have to watch your kids. You have to watch who's around them
Advice to
and
parents.
who they're hanging around.
Yeah.
Yes, because if you don't, they can easily sway in another direction.
Yeah.
So
I would say
That's a
to
big
that
thing.
too is, parents, guardians, whoever it is, um, you know, don't don't give up on your kids either. Don't
Right.
don't let them go because you think that you throw your hands up and you think that you're done. You've done all you can. Um, there's always more to be done. I mean, I'm still trying to learn how to parent a 16-year-old. We got into it this morning about just him not wanting to get up for school, and it's like, take a breath, relax, those kinds of
Yeah.
things. And then if if you had to give advice to a young man that was in your shoes, not you, but a young man like in your shoes that grow up in a gang or in a bad situation or something, they felt like if they knew they were going to continue to do it, it was going to be a detriment to their life. Do you have any advice for a young person to change their life in that drastic of a way?
The only advice I could give to somebody that's in that type of situation is you have to walk away. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I think one of my earphones just went out. Recharge it.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I got that one in there. I forgot. I was gonna lose my train of thought now.
You said you have to walk away.
Oh, yeah, you have to walk away. You have to walk away because if you don't, the only other outcome you're gonna have is either prison or death.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you get to look forward to. There is nothing else. That's the street life. That's what
Yep.
you want. So you got to choose your friends wisely. And there's nothing wrong with being smart. There's nothing wrong with going to school. There's nothing wrong with being a square.
All
There ain't
right.
nothing wrong with that. There's like you know I wish my younger self would have listened to that and said, "Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with getting good grades. There ain't nothing wrong with going to school. There ain't nothing wrong with being on time.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being respectful. You know, but that all starts at home with your parents because as parents, you cannot treat your kids like they're your friend. They're not your friend.
Yep.
Treat them as what they are. That's your kid. Don't give them beer. Don't give them weed. Don't put them in those situations where they have to grow up fast.
Right.
Just because that's how you grew up, you sure the hell don't do that to them.
Got to break the cycle.
Yes, you have to break the cycle because if you
Yeah.
don't, um, it just repeats the process over and over again with their kids and so on and so forth. And I was lucky enough to break my own cycle.
Right.
So
Awesome. And then TikTok, right? TikTok has been this. It's a hot topic because I think I don't know if it'll ever go away at this point. I think they tried real hard to get rid of it, and then there was always something else to pop up. Any advice? And that's probably some of the reason that we waited to see what was going to happen because if I started on TikTok, I didn't want to lose everything. You know how it goes.
yeah,
But any advice for somebody that is just starting to explore the possibility of having a social media presence, regardless of if you're a private person or not? Just what's your best advice for somebody to get out there?
you're gonna have to get over your fear real quick of being seen and being heard and hearing your own voice. Because sometimes hearing your own voice, you're like, oh, shit, you're getting your own head.
Smart.
And that's like the big thing. And whatever your topic is, whatever it is you want to talk about, just talk about it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's somebody out there that's going to hear it, and there's somebody that it's going to hit, that they're going to take away from that message. You may not get a like, you may not get a bunch of views, but there's going to be somebody out there that's going to hear your message, and it's going to have an impact on them. Whether it's big or small, everything counts. So don't don't be shy. Overcome your fear and talk about whatever you need to talk about because everybody has a story. So just tell us yours.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you on today. We talked for a good almost hour and 40 minutes, so we're getting up there.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. This is a complete open invitation. If anytime you feel like you want to come back on, we'd love to have you on. Obviously, you've got a lot I think there's a lot to your story that can be told still.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man, and I'm going to get it all edited up, and we'll get you on, and we'll have some podcasting stuff up in a couple of days.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Salute to you.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now.
Hey listeners, if you're running a small or large business and want to keep your IT running smoothly, you need to check out Computer Quest. They take the hassle out of managing technology, whether it's cybersecurity, asset tracking, or even full-service IT management. They've got you covered. I've been working with Computer Quest, and let me tell you, it has been seamless and smooth end to end. Their expertise and support make a real difference. Plus, they can source hardware from the brands you love at competitive prices, so you're always getting the best value. Don't wait for tech issues to slow you down. Visit cqbits.com. That's cqbits.com to learn how Computer Quest can keep your business moving forward.